So, why are we talking about note-taking and marking textbooks in this module? Isn't it obvious when we should and shouldn't do this? Unless you've taken a course in stenography, you're simply not going to be able to take down every word your instructor says in a lecture. This means that you need to know what to emphasize and what you can ignore. And it's not always easy to figure this out. The first rule of thumb is to make sure that you have what you need when you sit down to study or attend class. You don't need anything fancy. A cheap notebook or binder with loose leaf is all you need, and a pen or pencil. I get a little obsessive about my notebooks and pens, but regular lined paper is all you need to get started. The key is to have it out and handy before you get underway. It can throw off your rhythm if you have to stop reading to find a pen or notebook, and in class it can be downright disruptive if you have to reach into your bag and pull all of this stuff out. Just one more point. When your instructor sees you prepared to learn with the right materials and sees you taking notes as the class progresses, it has an impact. I don't know of anything you could do to raise your status with a professor than to actively take notes through the class. Even raising your hand to answer questions doesn't have the same impact. Taking a picture of the notes on a board or a PowerPoint slide doesn't help you to study unless you commit to reviewing it. Be honest with yourself. Are you taking the picture because you might at some point in the future review your images and pinch and zoom into your picture, or are you taking it because everyone else is taking a picture? In the age of Instagram and Facebook, there is nothing memorable about taking a picture. Taking a picture will do in a pinch if your instructor doesn't make PowerPoints available to you, but you'll always be better off with the notes you take yourself. Now, I recommend that you review your notes, but even if you don't, the act of taking them helps you to learn and process what's happening in your class or your textbook. What are you doing when you take notes? On the one hand, you're making a record that can be consulted at a later point for review, but there's more going on than you might realize. First, the act of taking notes forces you to interact with the material. At each point in the class or lecture, you're making decisions about what to write down and what to leave out. This decision-making process is forcing you to prioritize information and to organize it in a way that makes sense to you. This is different than simply reading or listening to a thing. One of the problems with modern textbook is that they do such a good job at highlighting information with bulleted lists, bold fonts, and call-out boxes. It's easy to think as you're reading that you can simply review the text by simply looking at these clues. Well, that's not necessarily a bad study strategy. These formatting choices can make us gloss over material in a normal font. And it's the normal font that tends to go into the detail on a topic. And it's the normal font where you find the examples. And for me, I don't really start to understand a thing until I see how it gets applied in the real world. There are no shortcuts to learning new things. However, there are more and less effective ways to going about learning. Note-taking and effectively marking your textbook takes time and effort. Reviewing those notes and marks in your textbooks takes even more time and effort, but the truth is that learning is a labor-intensive process. You might be able to learn enough by cramming the night before to get an acceptable grade on a test or an exam. When we do that, the knowledge tends to be fleeting and temporary. You didn't come to college to learn just enough to pass tests that you're given in college. You came here to learn enough to change the course of your life and to prepare you for a lifetime of learning. The more knowledge you're able to own in college, the better equipped you'll be to keep on learning, and you'd better believe that any success in this life will only be possible if you're willing to keep on learning. Why is this a model for life? Well, the strategies that you use to approach a textbook or a lecture are the same skills you'll take to important meetings or critical articles that you'll need to read for work. It's also a mindset that supports mindful listening. If you know how to identify critical information and store it away, you'll be better able to focus on talks with friends or spouses in a way that it supports meaningful communication. It may seem like a leap to go from note-taking to couples advice, but the same skills and habits are at play. You have every reason in the world to develop these skills. Trust me, you'll thank me for it later.